Today we're rolling with a jacket because I did some painting yesterday, forgot to check the weather report for today. It's freaking cold outside and I have to have all the windows open in this office or I can't stand it in here. So yesterday, literally minutes after I published a video on the most pro-Second Amendment Department of Justice that has ever existed in U.S. history, dude gets snitched on by his local range for possessing a forced reset trigger, and now he's being jammed up for possession of a machine gun. When it comes to forced reset triggers, the device is classified as forced reset triggers. I come at them from the perspective of somebody who is an SOT, who works in the firearms space, from a professional opinion perspective, from a technical standpoint, and from a legal definition standpoint. Those two things are not the same. As a Second Amendment person, gun enthusiast, I don't understand forced reset triggers from a utilitarian standpoint, but I do understand forced reset triggers from the perspective of, hello, ATF man, I am not touching you. I am still not touching you. And I am still not touching you. But if I get any closer, I will touch my camera lens and I'm not going to clean it. So as someone who operates a Second Amendment channel and someone who has very hard views on, I'll just put it to you like this. I believe that you ought to be able to go down to your local gas station and buy a grenade launcher without any kind of paperwork. That's where I'm at. All the way back to 1791, baby. I cannot provide you with legal advice on what you should or can do. But what I can do is provide you examples of what you should not do. And what you should not do is what this idiot did. And that's what we're going to talk about in today's video after we hear a quick word from today's sponsor. Today's video is brought to you by XS Sites. I'm out here today preaching the good word of the XS Big Dot site. If you don't like the XS Big Dot site, then you're wrong. No, I'm just kidding. I started using the big dots because I took a low light force on force class. If you've never had that experience, I could totally see why somebody wouldn't select that site, but it is my go-to site. They offer a whole bunch of other things out there, and XS has been a big time, long time supporter of the channel. So I very much appreciate them supporting the mission here at the VSO Gun Channel. Let's get into the video. So I am not going to read this document to you word for word. I am confident that despite the state of education in the United States, that you will be able to read this yourself. It is technically the whole document's 2 pages, but the page that we're going to focus on is 1 page. I'm just going to paraphrase it for you, and I'll have it on screen for those of you who actually want to read it. But basically what happened is this dude lives in the District of Columbia. And I was unaware of this, but apparently it is illegal to do 3D printing things in the District of Columbia. But I suppose that makes sense for DC, you know, par for the course, so to speak. But anyway, he is 3D printing forced reset triggers. Can't get his forced reset trigger that he's 3D printed to work in his rifle. So he goes to his local range, rents a gun, disassembles the gun while he's on the range, tries to get the forced reset trigger that he has manufactured into the gun, is stopped during the process of doing this, is notified that that's against the range rules, that he's not allowed to do that, and then the range turns him in to the authorities. The authorities then raid his house. They find a whole bunch of 3D printed FRT-like devices, some guns, some ammo. They seize all of his electronics, his 3D printers, his guns, et cetera, right? And then they turn him over to the Department of Justice, and Bob's your uncle. Okay, Kurt, well, how do you know all that? Because he told the cops that? You guys ever seen that meme of the dude who's in the handcuffs? He's about to be shoved into the police cruiser, and he's like looking at the officer, and he's just like, I back the blue. He's one of those guys. You should never talk to the cops. If you believe that you are under investigation or you are being detained, you should not talk to the cops. The limit of talking to the cops, and you can ask any attorney this, who's worth their salt, the limit is you want to provide them with who you are. If they're going to put you in the lockup, because otherwise they're going to have to spend a whole lot of time figuring out who you are, and it could delay the amount of time that you are in. Name, rank, serial number. That's it. He gave him the whole thing. He thought he was one of those people who could just talk his way out of it, and that is obviously not the case. And to set the tone for this thing, I just want to read you one line out of this document. During his time on one of the rented lanes, defendant Avasar began to disassemble the rented rifle and attempted to place what the anonymous citizen learned to be a forced reset trigger. This device has the capability to turn a semi-automatic rifle into a fully automatic rifle. My professional opinion is that that is not that thing. From a technical standpoint, as far as the operation is concerned, that is not how that thing works. However, I would like to point out to you that that is still the perspective of the Department of Justice. Kurt, what about the forced reset trigger settlement thing about Bob that, they said that they're not? No, that's not what it said. That is not what it said. I did a video on telling you that that's not what it said. The government nowhere in this document admits that the FRT or FRT-like devices are not machine guns. In fact, the only time that they bring up the mechanical function of the FRT or FRT-like devices is to explain why they are going to give an exception to Rarebreed triggers and not enforce the machine gun prohibition against them. And they really said two things. As long as you don't change it a whole lot, and as long as you don't make it for a handgun. What? What the fuck? The Department of Justice's standpoint is that those things are still machine guns. But they're just not going to enforce it against Rarebreed triggers and their downstream clientele. There's an unholy alliance that was made. Said, hey, we're going to settle. You're going to enforce your patent so that nobody else can do this sort of thing. And in exchange, we're not going to enforce this rule against you. The document starts out by defining machine gun and then beating their chest for a couple paragraphs about how awesome in Second Amendment they are. Here's a hint. When somebody has to repeatedly tell you that they are something to reinforce that they are that thing because they haven't really demonstrated it, that's what we call clue. We've already discussed my thoughts on the Second Amendment, what it protects, et cetera, et cetera. RPG 7s at the CVS. Okay, same page. Many of you, viewers, friends, family, have contacted me. Probably 50 or so more people over the last couple months. Hey man, forced reset triggers. Can I get this one by this manufacturer? Can I do that one over here? Should I print my own, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? And my answer to those folks has been pretty much the same. Personally, I would do none of it if I were you. However, what we have from the Department of Justice is the Rarebreed Triggers branded forced reset trigger, the FRT 15, seems to be currently protected under a binding agreement with the Department of Justice. Everybody else, not. 3D printing your own. Obviously not. All of this is illegal and unconstitutional. The ATF does not make law. Congress makes law. But that dude's going to jail. He's going to be there for a minute. It's going to cost him a lot of money to fix it. And maybe, down the road, maybe, we'll be in a better position because they'll go through the courts and all the appeals and all that sort of stuff. And we'll end up with a decision 10 years from now that says, yep, ATF was wrong. Have a sticker. If that's your prerogative, based. Go for it. But to me, that doesn't sound like a whole lot of fun. So if you are going to engage in this kind of behavior, my recommendation to you would be, first of all, to not do that thing. But if you're going to, then maybe don't talk about it. Maybe don't do it in public, and maybe don't tell the police about it. Maybe don't take pictures of it and post it all over the internet type thing. Right now, again, even though it's unconstitutional and illegal, there's some kind of weird agreement with the Department of Justice and Rarebreed Triggers for their particular thing. And if you think for a second that that is going to stand up to some rabid anti-gun administration in the future, more power to you. If the Department of Justice were the most pro-gun thing that's ever happened in the history of America, then they could make this go away. But they won't. And I rest my case.